you don't agree it's the same thing, that's for you to decide. So these objects give you power, but mescalito doesn't give you power. Jesus, by the way, is presented in Scripture both as having power, right, and being a teacher. So he's a double whammy, but he's both these things in effect. You say, well, he's nothing like this. Yeah, but we don't even know that those pictures are accurate, so they're supposed to be. But if you take Mel Gibson as an example, I think maybe I'd start running to the nearest bomb shelter, because I'm sure nothing bloody like that ever occurred. So knowing Palestinian history as I do and reading all the contemporary reports, there's no such bloody event of that kind. And that's only in someone's excruciating representation of what they thought might have happened, based on medieval saints' visions, which is pretty pathetic. Maybe inspiring, but it ain't history, that's for sure. And here, that's all I would say about that movie. It may be inspiring, but it's not history. Here too, again, you have this double whammy, power and teaching. So that's, I guess, what we do get in our scriptural presentation of our Saviors. So, Don Juan spoke with deep fervor. Mescalino is the teacher of the proper way to live. I asked him, how did he teach the proper, well, that's how the Scripture presents their teacher. He teaches the proper way to live, how you should live. That's what Mescalino does for these people. How does he do it? Oh, well, he shows it in rocks and so on. Is it a picture? No, it's a teaching. Is it in person? Yes, but it's not in words. He talks differently to every man and so on. So this acquiring an ally, he went on to explain that there were no exact steps to knowing Mescalino. No one could teach about him except Mescalino himself. It's like you go to find Jesus, no one can teach you about Jesus except Jesus himself and so on. On the other hand, the acquiring of an ally required, Don Juan said, the most precise teaching. And so on and so forth. Okay, we went over that. So now, I doubled that because of my little excursus, which I shouldn't do, but sometimes I feel I have to point out these parallels. Chapter 3, August 23rd, 1961, The Devil's Weed. Gibson, he says that's called. Was my benefactor's ally. What does it mean, my benefactor's ally? Who's his benefactor? Don Juan's teacher. Yeah, Don Juan's teacher. It could have been mine too, but I didn't like her. So Don Juan doesn't like devil's weed, but he knows about it, so he tells him about it. She has a serious drawback. It's inferior to the other powers. Don't get me wrong, she's as powerful as the rest, but I just don't like her. She distorts me. She makes me weak. The devil weed has 4 heads, the root, the stem, flowers, seeds, each of them different. And you can read that for yourself. So that's all 2 kinds of devil's weed there, and I think there's more information on that. I have a note in page 76 to 77. So you can read that yourself. I don't want to get all into all this stuff. The next one here are what? 2 datura plants. What are datura plants? I haven't got a clue. Even I've read this several times, I still have no idea what he's talking about. But in any case, they have some sticks that they dig with here. It's 4 inches of big, tuberous, forked root, who's contrasted markedly with the width of the stem. And they loosen the dirt around the 2 diverging, so it's a root of some kind, right? Is that the devil's weed, or is that something else? Does that come from the datura plant? How many of you figured this out? Anyone can tell me? Well, you read this and figure it out, okay? So that's beyond our class. And when you want to write about this, you can entertain the well with your great knowledge. So I don't know if the datura plant is the same as the devil's weed. But he explains how to do it here. So then he goes on more about the devil's weed on page 31. Page 32. still about that. Apparently he gets on well, Castaneda gets on well with the devil's weed, whatever that is. He brought with him a medium-sized kettle with boiling yellowish water, and he emptied the top, preserving the silt, and poured the boiling water on the silt, and so on. When he returned hours later, it was dark, and on the bottom there was a gummy substance, and so on. He emptied the contents into an old clay mug, took a sip, and said, "Drink it now." I did so, drinking all the water, and it smelled like cockroaches. And immediately I began to sweat. I got very warm. Blood rushed to me. I saw a red spot in front of my eyes. The muscles of my stomach began to contract. And he now starts to explain to you this vision he gets, which is all red and black spots. And more again, that he is afraid again. All I was seeing was a huge red spot in front of my eyes. Can you explain to me, you guys who've read this more recently than I, because this is a pretty long vision here, what's he taking here? Is this the devil's weed? Huh? The Torah? It must be the same. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the devil's weed.
So they're both the same.
Diluted to like a tea kind of.
Okay, so before we go, we got a couple more minutes here before we turn off the day here. Can you tell us what this vision is about, since you're the only one who seems to understand what's happening here?
Basically, Don Juan makes him take the tea to see if the devil's weed will like him and if he'll be able to continue his teaching.
And it does?
And it does, because the black spots end up being good.
What? The black spots
vision.
are
black
good?
spots are a good vision.
And the red spots?
No, red is
Red is
black spots are bad. Oh,
Okay, and what's the final point of all this red and black spots that he sees? Anything interesting emerge out of this?
it's meant to be his ally.
Huh?
It's meant to be his ally.
An ally.
It's meant to be one that he can use.
And what does it help him do?
There's,
Gets
Give him
power,
power.
huh?
there's like 3 different ways to take the devil's weed.
Yeah.
So this is like the first step. He
Right.
ends up just passing out. And it's
So
just,
wait, say what?
he
Say
just
this
ends
again?
up passing out, falling asleep, I
Yeah.
think. And it just shows that, he has an aptitude for it.
So it's okay.
It's okay to go ahead and try the other 2.
So did he do the other two? And what happens then?
Then, let's see.
Doesn't he make
He
him go
flies.
fly?
No, that's the smoke.
Oh, so we're going to get into that next time he flies?
No, that's the smoke, I think.
That's the smoke?
Is
Hey, you guys are really into this. I'll let you teach me. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.